You hear like a crazy hiss? I hear a crazy hiss. Oh my goodness. Try this one. Oh, whoa, that's even worse. All right, here you go. Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear that? I have to talk really low because I got it up really high. Oh my God, that sucks. I don't know what to do about that. That sucks. Can we get past that? What the hell? I need to know if you guys in the chat room can hear that because it's driving me freaking nuts. Anybody? No hiss for you? So this is just probably on my... Okay, good. All right, very good. You know what? Maybe it's the headphones. That might be it. Maybe if I just changed out the headphones because it's real. I got a really loud hiss from the show. You had to break down the show last night because I had to do a special kind of set thing for something that I'm working on. That explains the delay this morning. I apologize. I didn't troubleshoot everything properly, and when I was ready to jump on and start the show, everything went haywire. All right, so you're not hearing a hiss. Let me go get a different pair of headphones and see if that fixes the problem. I shall return. Don't go anywhere. Gather around the chat room. Come on. Yoga mats, beanbag chairs, whatever it is. I'll be right back. Let me just change out my headphones here. All right. Let's see. No, it's still bad. Okay, that sucks. All right, so I guess I just do the show with a terrible hiss, but as long as you guys aren't hearing it, and I'm the only one hearing it. Let me mess with some things here. All right, maybe that's better. All right, I think I may have just done something that fixed it a little. Yeah, we're going to be okay. We're going to get through it. You know why? Because we're professionals here. All right, folks, forget about all that. I'm going to keep these. No, I don't want to wear these. I don't want to wear these. Incongruent with the way my head always looks on these videos. So let's try and stay the same there. Let's see if I fixed it. How you guys doing? I'll tell you. On behalf of all Chicago Bear fans, I'd like to apologize to anybody that wasted their time watching football last night. Did you guys see that? Did you guys watch that football game last night? Oh my God. So the stories are already that Al Michaels is like regretting signing the exclusive deal with Thursday Night Prime Football because Thursday Night Prime Football, for some reason, and I don't know if it's luck of the draw or if it was intentional by the other networks, but the absolute worst football games that nobody wants to see. The 2-7 Chicago Bears taking on the 1-7 Carolina Panthers in a showcase coast-to-coast game. Just embarrassing. Let me tell you something about that game last night. If you watched it, and I can't imagine anybody did, the Chicago Bears won that game last night, and that's fine. It was the Futility Bowl. By the way, the Bears own both of those teams' picks. The Bears get their own pick in the upcoming draft, and the Bears also get the Carolina Panthers pick in the upcoming draft, which is great because the Bears might not be the worst team in football, but that's okay. They control the pick of the worst team in football. Here come the hiccups. Let me tell you something. The Bears won last night over the worst team in football. I mean, obviously, the two worst teams in football played last night. One of them lost, so obviously that's the worst team in football. Worst team in football, the Carolina Panthers. The Bears won last night, but I promise you, they would have lost to 30 other teams in the league last night. 30 other teams would have destroyed. Oh, God. I can't believe what is going on with my sports fandom. Please, Justin, I just need him to get healthy and come back and just run out the stream with the season. Just, a string of 300-yard games. Return to what you were doing with DJ before you broke your thumb. Just give me that. I don't care. We're going to maybe win 5 or 6 games all year. Just give me 3 more. That's it. Give me 3 more over the next 8. Then we'll move into the offseason with our crazy amounts of salary cap money and multiple first-round picks and second-round picks and all that stuff. Anyway, okay. How are you? Sorry we didn't. I can't apologize enough. We canceled the Radio Misfits show for that stupid football game last night. Oh, why are these hiccups coming? I totally ignored the hiccups at 3 days in a row. This is, like I said, I think part of it is psychosomatic. Oh, God. Oh, no, I don't have my coffee? I do. I'm so frazzled today. Should we all take a breath together? Hi, Frank. Frank's in the chat room. Hiccups. God damn it! Yeah, I'm a short fuse today. So much going on. Oh. Hiccups. Now I got hiccups. So much going on, and now I got hiccups. I can't even do the one thing that I look forward to the most every day, which is this 2-hour stream of consciousness on all the day's news, events, and what this day has been throughout history. I look forward to that, and my body doesn't even allow me to do that without going, hey, how about some hiccups? Let's fuck with them a little more. Yeah, that's what this show is. Every day, Monday through Friday at 12 noon. High noon, we call it. I get on here. I put together in the morning a list of all the day's news, all the hot topics, the trends, the headlines. I learn a little bit about them. I figure out why it is that they're making a headline, and then we talk about them just a little bit, and then we move on. It's not. We don't spend a whole lot of time. We don't get in the weeds and any one singular issue. We try to give you a nice, well-rounded look of all of the things that people are buzzing about here in the world. Now, what we don't do is politics. We don't get into any of that nonsense. I don't care if you're red or blue or green or purple or whatever, rainbow, whatever. I don't give a shit. Hey, let's just talk about the world. There's plenty of things we can talk about without having to, put people in boxes based on their favorite colors. So we don't do that. It is a 2-hour stream of consciousness. It's me for 2 hours, no breaks, no interruptions, no nothing. So I hope you like this voice. Not many do, but... All right. Is there anything else that I need before we get started earnestly with the show here? Is there anything else that I need to mention? We got Byron here. Yeah, there is something I need to mention. Here we go. I forgot. Let's start out the right way because this show runs on your, I almost said condolences again. The fudge. Why am I saying condolences? This show runs on your gratuities. Runs on your tips. That's how it's been doing for 2 years. Enough of you are cool enough and enjoy this style of talk radio that you wish to support it. And I certainly do appreciate that. An everyday show, top tipper of the previous day, gets to be executive producer. And I would like to welcome in an old friend as executive producer of today's show. What a nice surprise when you see and you look and you're like, hey, look at this. We got a tip for today's show. And it was my old friend Kojak, one of the greats. Oh, one of the legends. One of the legends of back in the day. So thank you very much, executive producer Kojak, on today's show. Now, if you want to try and outdo Kojak, I encourage that. You can drop a little something in the Cash App or the Venmo or whatever throughout the show. I will leave that there. It'll come and go. But if you're so inclined, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much. So weekend with the kid. Got the kid this weekend. We're going to do snap-in drills all weekend. Yeah, I'm not crazy dad. I'm not like, we're going outside, we're going to snap. No, he wants it. He's like, Dad, I want to work on snaps all weekend. I'm like, cool. I mean, that sounds fun to me. It's going to be a nice fall weekend, right? It's going to be kind of gray, maybe a little bit wet. Get a slippery ball. Let's see how you snap a slippery ball, son. So that's going to be fun. So we're going to have fun dad boy weekend stuff. Is there any movies he's going to make me take him to? Is there anything out? I don't know. I don't want to go to a movie. Anyway, whatever. That's my plans. Hope you have similarly lovely plans for this weekend. Let's get started. It is the High Noon Rant with me, your humble host, Pugs Moran, the 10th day of November, year of our Lord, 2023. The 10th day of November is 314 days into the year. That's right, 314. Quick math, 51 days until the end of the year. Look at me with my big brain doing quick math. No, I'm lying to you. See, I'm lying to you because you know that I have those numbers written down. I didn't just do that math in my head. That's what you get here, folks. Honesty. All right, we do the show in 4 quarters. There are 4 different segments of the show. The first segment we call Erstwhile on This Day. That's a look back at history. It's previously on November the 10th. So things that have shaped our perception, our understanding, our historical understanding of this day, we go through. Not all of them. I just cherry pick the ones that I think are interesting. Then quarter 2, birthdays. We look at people born on this day. Happy birthday too. And we decide if we like them or not. That's it. It's that easy. Quarter 3, deaths. We get a little bit more serious here. This is the part of the show where we get to sit in judgment. This is the part of the show where we take a look at people who have died on this day. We open up their life's understanding, and to the best of our understanding of who they were as people, we decide they go into heaven or hell. That's that. That's quarter 3. That's what we call the deads. Then we move in quarter 4. That's the home stretch. Quarter 4 is just rip and read, baby. We're going to go through all the headlines. We're going to go through all the things that are trending, all the hot topics. Whatever it is that people are making hay about in this world today, we're going to cover it there in the 4th quarter. So without further ado, what do you say we get started? Segment 1, quarter 1, Erstwhile on This Day. Previously on this day, in 1775, the United States Marine Corps is founded in Toon Tavern in Philadelphia by a dude named Samuel Nicholas. Hoo-wah! In a bar. What was that? What was it? Okay, so 1775. Okay, so this was like Continental Congress time, Philadelphia. So they were at the Freedom Hall, or what was it called? Brotherhood Hall, Independence Hall. So they're at it. How did I forget Independence Hall? I know my American history. So they're at Independence Hall all day, hammering out the details of, how they're going to tell King George to suck a D. And afterwards, they're like, hey, you guys want to go get some drinks? And they went down to Toons, and they formed the Marines. On this day in 1775, the United States Marine Corps is officially founded. On this day in 1871, erstwhile, if you will, Henry Morton Stanley locates missing explorer and missionary David Livingstone near Lake Tanganyika, famously greeting him by saying what? What did he say? What did Stanley say when he saw Livingstone? Let me be honest with you. I don't know anything about this story. I know this as a cultural reference. I know what he said to him. I don't know why he said it to him. I don't know why he was looking for him. I don't know why this guy, was he missing? Did they think what was going on? Who was Dr. Livingstone? I don't know. Sure, there's a Wikipedia page and a giant hole that I can fall into and learn all that I want. But what he said to him was, Dr. Livingstone, I presume. See, I know that line. I know that's a line. I know that Stanley said to Livingstone, but I don't know the context. So that's part of the perils of being stupid, I guess. That's cocktail party knowledge right there. That's cocktail party knowledge. Remember, I tell you about how we all need to have cocktail party knowledge. We all need to know just a little bit about everything to be able to hang and bang in a conversation at a cocktail party for about 30 to 45 seconds before we remove ourselves and move on to the next conversation. You don't want to spend too much time because that's when you're revealed to be a poser. When you don't know what you're talking about, right? So, but you just a couple of seconds, have one thing on the topic and then go, great talking to you. I'm going to go move over and then move, rotate, get out of there. One of two things are going to happen. Everybody's going to think, well, that's an interesting fella. Or everybody in the room is going to go, that dude's full of shit. Whatever, that's the gamble you take. So I do know enough about, like, if I popped into a conversation and they were like, well, it was when Dr. Livingstone was missing, and I might go, Dr. Livingstone, I presume, I gotta go and move on. And just for that second, they're like, oh, he knows what we're talking about. He's smart. That's cocktail party knowledge. And that's all I got on that subject. Stanley saw Livingstone on this day. It is taking every bit of my attempt at being disciplined in doing this show not to just click on that and now learn and learn about Stanley and Livingstone, although I fear it'll probably not pay off. I fear it'll just be like, what? That's stupid. Why is that so famous? Moving on. Erstwhile, on this day in 1918, the Western Union Cable Office in North Sydney, Nova Scotia, up there in Canada, receives a top secret coded message from Europe. It was on its way to Ottawa and then to be forwarded to Washington, D.C. What did it say on that top secret telegraph? It was on this day. Simple, to the point. All fighting ceases on land, sea, and air. The war is over! It is the end of World War I. Big deal. Telegraph. We didn't know. People didn't know. So think about this. So the first person in history that was outside of the loop of the generals and all that in Europe, the first person in history before the president, before the leaders of the world, before the first person in history that knew that the war was officially over or whatever, they decided war's done. First person was some dude doing a shift at a telegraph office in Nova Scotia. Probably had a little sandwich that his wife Marge packed for him when he went off to work that day. My God, no one is insignificant, is my point. We are all important. Ugh, I'll get into that mindset a little bit later in today's show. Erstwhile, on this date, 1951, with the rollout of the North American numbering plan. Okay, I thought that was a person's name. Like I read it first. I thought it was like Nuremberg, right? But it's numbering, but it's capitalized. So I read it like it was not numbering. All right. With the rollout of the numbering plan, which means everybody gets area codes, we, for the first time in history on this day in 1951, could make coast-to-coast long-distance calls in this country. Huzzah! You guys remember that? None of you guys are old. Well, some of you guys are old enough, maybe. I'm old. I remember like, mom, and then your mom going, stop it. I'm on long distance. Like, I remember when long distance was a thing. You remember when long distance was a thing? All right, kids, don't bother me. I'm going to be on the phone long distance. Like, I guess it was way more expensive. Like, way more expensive. Want to talk to your friend in California? $25. Was it like that back then? Want to call your grandma in Fresno? $20. You call her after 10 o'clock and wake her up, 15. That's how it used to be. On this day, it all started in 1951. On this day in 1975, a 729-foot-long freighter, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald, sinks during a storm on Lake Superior, killing all 29 crew on board. Folks, let me tell you, a legend lives down from the Chippewa down on the big lake they called Gitchigumi. Now, that's obviously a famous song. One that I learned, I always thought it was just a Midwestern song. I honestly just thought that was just like a Great Lakes sea shanty that, like, was kind of a hit because we heard it on the radio in Chicago and stuff, but I didn't think it was like a national hit because I don't think I ever heard it anywhere outside of like a drunk bar where people were singing. I don't know. Anyway, Edmund Fitzgerald was a boat crash. Boat crash. Is that what they call them? Yeah, the expert. Yeah. Was a boat crash. Ed got caught in a storm, a November storm, and everybody died. And the song is really heavy. I don't know if you like lyrics, but it's really heavy. It used to make me cry. I mean, you listen to the words of powerful lyrics. It's about real people who are like fighting Mother Nature on the Great Lakes. And when a November storm comes rolling, it's heavy. It's a good song. It's a good song. But here's the thing. My whole life growing up, I thought I assumed like the Edmund Fitzgerald sunk in the icy waters of Lake Superior on November the 10th, 1895. Like, I thought it was like something from a long time ago, right? Because the song, first of all, if you'd ask me when did Gordon Lightfoot come out with the song Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, I'd be like, I don't know, 72. So in my mind, the song actually predates the incident the song was written about, which is weird and very confusing. So, but it doesn't. The song doesn't obviously the song does. So what I'm saying is, I didn't know this happened in 75. Maybe 1875, maybe 1925, but I didn't really think it was that modern of an event. Anyway, it was on this day, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, 1975. On this day in 1983, Bill Gates introduces a little thing for the very first time to the people that he calls Windows. That's right, Windows for the first time ever. Moving on, quarter one in the books. It's time for Wanna. They say it's their birthday. These are people who, according to my due diligence, are celebrating birthdays on this very day. Some of them are dead. All of them are worthy of comment. On this day in 1483, born unto this blue marble, Martin Luther. Martin Luther, just a bad Catholic. That's all Martin Luther was. He started Protestantism. Protestantism. I can't say that fucking word. Fuck. Protestantism. Yeah, that's it. Protestantism. Oh, man. Jesus. All right, moving. Yeah. All right. On this day, born in 1925, how about Richard Burton? That's a big old salty drunk. Richard Burton. Richard Burton was a big actor. He's a big A-list actor. I mean, he wasn't Bond. You know, there's not like one role that you go, yeah, Burton was. You know, he didn't have, I think, most of the craziest roles that I think of Richard Burton in were just roles he did with his on-again, off-again wife, Elizabeth Taylor. And they played good drunks together in real life and on film. Richard Burton, born on this day, 1925. Born on this day in 1932, Roy Scheider. Roy Scheider was cool. Here's an interesting thing. Who's the star of Jaws? Like who's the star of Jaws? I think if you ask like 20 people, who's the star of Jaws? Half will say Richard Dreyfuss, half will say Roy Scheider. I say Roy Scheider because I always felt Richard Dreyfuss was a little bit irritating. Not Richard Dreyfuss was great in Close Encounters. Then he got really irritating for like 20 years of his career. Then he made What About Bob with Bill Murray, and he was back in my good graces. And then he made Mr. Holland's Opus, and he was back in my good graces because for some reason that movie is just like a favorite of mine. And then he just became Richard Dreyfuss again. And like nobody likes him, so it's Roy Scheider's movie. And happy birthday to Roy Scheider, celebrating a birthday today. The star of Jaws. On this day, born on this day in 1956, Sinbad. Sinbad. Boom, boom. This dude, funniest thing about Sinbad is his clothes, to me. I never thought he was funny. I think he's a cheap comic. I don't think his stand-up comedy is funny. I can see how it could be funny. I mean, they're jokes. They're jokes. They're just not particularly well done jokes. They're just not particularly interesting jokes. Came out in crazy clothes. I'm Sinbad. Yeah. All right. I don't know what to say. He just doesn't appeal to me. Born on this day in 1956, Sinbad. Born on this day in 1959, Mackenzie Phillips. Ugh. Ooh, man, there's just all kinds of gross stuff about Mackenzie Phillips. This is it. She was starring One Day at a Time. Valerie Bertinelli and her were sisters. They were the Romano sisters. No, they weren't. Anne Romano. The mother was Anne Romano, but the mother was Anne Romano because she reverted back to her maiden name because she was a single divorced woman in the 80s, and that was like a power play. So yeah, I think the kids had different names. Julie, and I don't know. Don't remember as much about One Day at a Time as I thought I did. Moving on, Schneider. Remember him? Remember Schneider, Pat Harrington. Who was the star One Day at a Time? If you ask me, Schneider. Born on this day in 1963. Happy birthday. Embattled. He's embattled. Nobody likes this guy. First of all, I've never liked this guy. Hate him. I've always hated him. I've always thought he was a complete D-bag. But I have, inbred rivalry reasons for hating Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, head coach of your Dallas Cowboys. I hate this guy. This guy, the hiring of Mike McCarthy proved that Jerry Jones really doesn't know football, or at least not modern football. Maybe Jerry knew football of the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, but Mike McCarthy, I'm sorry. I don't want to badmouth my Cowboy. He's just not, he's never been a particularly interesting coach, and he has always excelled because he had great quarterbacks. It's kind of a bit of a Phil Jackson thing with Mike McCarthy. And by the way, he hasn't always excelled. He got fired in Green Bay. He hasn't always excelled. I remember there being like a big line of people waiting to hire Mike McCarthy when the Cowboys brought him in. He's got to go, man. He didn't know what to do with this team. All right, I'm moving on. Happy birthday, Mike McCarthy. I'm not a fan, but it's probably more a Bear versus Packer thing than anything personal, so let's just move on. Born on this day in 1968, Tracy Morgan. Gonna get you pregnant. I can't do any imitations, but that would be my Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan's a crazy man. Apparently he's fine. Like, remember he was like dead and he was going to be like, a vegetable and like not be able to talk because his party. Only Tracy Morgan, man. Tracy Morgan's party bus gets hit by a truck, and now Tracy Morgan has Walmart money for the rest. Oh my God. I don't know what the exact number is, but we're talking lots of money he got from Walmart because it was a Walmart truck that hit him. He was on a party bus with a bunch of friends going to he had a concert. So he took a bunch of friends to his concert. He was going to perform at the concert, party in the bus, and then go back. And they were on the way back from the concert in a Walmart truck. Ooh, people died. It was bad. Anyway, Tracy Morgan, born on this day in 1968. Good to see you're up and around. Born on this day in 1971. I could do an entire show on this guy. As a matter of fact, coming soon, special podcast. Why is Walton Goggins so awesome? Walton Goggins, born on this day in 1971. Walton Goggins. There's a number of these people, and I'd be hard-pressed to actually make a list that I'd stand by right now. But off the top of my head, I have a number of people who I don't give a shit what it's about. I don't care what this dumbass thing is that you're involved in. I'll sit and I will watch it because this person is in it. Walton Goggins is one of those dudes. Who's Walton Goggins? Well, right, he's a character actor, so you may not know him. Did you ever watch The Shield? That's the first place I ever noticed him. He played Shane Vendrell, opposite Michael Chiklish in The Shield. Sons of Anarchy. He had a recurring role on Sons of Anarchy that may be one of his best. In Sons of Anarchy, he played Venus the Penis, the transsexual prostitute who Tig fell in love with. Then what I did Vice Principals for HBO with, not Ricky Bobby. Who's the other guy? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. He's great. Quentin Tarantino movie, Hateful Eight. He was incredible in that. Everything Walton Goggins is in is just absolute top tier. Righteous Gemstones. He's baby Billy, for crying out loud. If you're watching the Righteous Gemstones, that big giant toothy grin son of a bitch, that's Walton Goggins celebrating a birthday today. Baby Billy. Born on this day in 1977. Person that I consider the good Brittany Murphy. Brittany Murphy was born on this day in 1977. Oh, what did you do? Hey, Hollywood, what did you do to Brittany Murphy? She's adorable. She was adorable. And then, I don't know if you watched any of the documentaries about Brittany Murphy, about her. A couple of years ago, there was like, who killed Brittany Murphy? Pretty good, pretty interesting. I just want to build a time machine, and I want to go back, and I want to take care of her. I want to make sure that she knows that bad things are on the horizon. She was so innocent. She just seemed so sweet and just so innocent, and she was just taken advantage by people who went, she's going to be a movie star. Let's milk her for everything. Do you remember when she got real skinny? There was a period of time in her career, like Brittany Murphy earlier in her career was adorable. She was being cast in exactly the way she needed to be cast. The girl next door, or for a famous role as an ugly duckling who transformed into, clueless, who transforms into a beauty. She was a beauty. That's what Hollywood does. Hollywood takes a beauty and they make them ugly for the first act of the movie, and then they transform them back into what they looked like when they walked in for the audition, which is a smoke show. She was beautiful. And then some casting director, somebody told her that she needed to lose like 5 pounds. Brittany Murphy never needed to lose 5 pounds. She was like perfect. And she lost like 25 pounds. And then there was like a period of time where she just looked really sickly. Oh, poor Brittany Murphy. I wish this was the dead segment, but it's not. It's the birthday segment because she would go directly to heaven. Sweet little Brittany Murphy. Not all Britneys are bad. It's what I got tattooed on my forearm. Born on this day in 1977, Brittany Murphy. Born on this day in 1989. How about Taron Egerton? I don't know who that guy is, but I know that he's been in things that I've gone, I got to remember this Taron Egerton. I didn't remember him, but it is his birthday, and I do associate the name Taron Egerton with a young actor whom I like. So there you go. See the Kingsman guy? See the kid from the Kingsman movies? I like that guy too. Probably the same guy. Moving on. All right, that's going to do it. Quarter 2 is in the books. Now, what do you say we do the deads? That's right. This is where we take a look at people who passed away on this day, open up their life's resume, and then decide whether or not they're in heaven or hell. First and foremost, dead on this day, 1992. 1992 he died. Dead on this day in 1992. How about Chuck Connors, the rifleman? Ooh. Chuck Connors was an actor. So what's the rule here? The rule can't be all actors go to hell. That's a rule that we got for football coaches and politicians. If you're a politician and you died, you go directly to hell. If you're a football coach and you die, you go directly to hell. We will stumble across other categories that we will say, nah, their life's choice of career exempts them from any consideration for heaven. Lawyers, like if you're a famous lawyer, hell, but that almost crosses over with the politicians. So we'll cross those bridges when we get to them. Chuck Connors is an actor. Chuck Connors was the rifleman. Chuck Connors was this guy. Here, let me show you Chuck Connors if you didn't know who Chuck Connors is. Here we go. All right, look at him. All right, hold on. The rifleman, Chuck Connors. He was huge. He was huge in TV. Everybody loved Chuck Connors. And then he had movies. I mean, the rifleman was like, he became really good friends with Brezhnev, Soviet Premier Brezhnev, because the rifleman was the only American television show that was allowed to be shown in the Soviet Union. Why? Because Brezhnev loved Chuck Connors as the rifleman. And there he is. A lot of shirtless stuff. Chuck Connors was an interesting dude. He's a professional baseball player, he's a professional football player, or basketball player. That's right. He was a two-sport athlete, property of both the Chicago Cubs and the team that is now known as the Sacramento Kings. At the time, I think they were the Rochester Chiefs or something, but they're the Sacramento Kings now. So we're talking about a dude who was a two-sport athlete who apparently wasn't really good at either. So he never made it in both, and he ended up being an actor. Now, here's the sordid story of Chuck Connors. Before Chuck Connors got his break acting, he was playing with the Dodgers farm team somewhere else, the Hollywood Dodgers or whatever, or like a AAA team or whatever, the Dodgers back then. He got spotted by a casting director, and he ended up doing gay porn for about 10 years in the 1950s. And I don't know if you can been noticing these pictures, but yeah, he was, there he is. There he's in a baseball uniform. Now, there he is, Chuck Connors. Okay, so I have seen one of the Chuck Connors gay porns, and I believe now big debate is that's not really him. It's him. It's him. Look, people did a lot of things. Gay porn there was an underground gay scene in Hollywood in the 1950s. There was that miniseries on Netflix a couple of months ago about the gas station. Remember the gas station where all the gay male prostitutes were? That Chuck Connors was there. He worked at that gas station. So what do we do? What do we do with Chuck Connors? A man who was forced to live a lie. He was the rifleman. People liked him. Brezhnev liked him. They said that a lot of the understanding that Brezhnev had of the United States in that time came from his enjoyment of watching Chuck Connors work. I'm going to put Chuck Connors in heaven because he was a pretty cool guy. And the idea that he was married 3 times, he had a bunch of kids, and because that's what was expected of him. And you can't really find much about Chuck Connors in the gay porn. It's been pretty cleaned up. I couldn't even find any images. There's a still image that I used to always imagine from that of just his face. It's the Chuck Connors face. It's like his face, but he's getting railed. They're in the grass, and it's him and another dude, and it's like, must have been rough, man. Because a lot of theater dudes are gay. A lot of actors are gay. A lot of people who are expressive and that open with their emotions are very much in touch with sides of themselves that other closeted people may not be. So if there's that closeted thing in you, it's going to come out once you get in theater. And it must have been rough. We were talking with James the other day on the Radio Misfits show about the gay people in the 60s and 70s and the actors. And we were talking about it in the context of the AIDS epidemic. Rock Hudson's another one, man. Rock Hudson was pretty cool. Like, by all reports, Rock Hudson seemed like a pretty good dude. And his entire life was a lie. His entire life was a secret. We live in different times. Who knows? All right, man, we're going to put Chuck Connors, the rifleman, American icon. We're going to put him in. He did gay porn. That's if anybody finds any stills, I want to see that again, because there's just, I don't want to see the gay porn again. I want to see that face. That's a funny face. I used to always think that would be a cool t-shirt. Like if you could take the face of the rifleman getting railed, because it was a close-up. I remember the close-up of him going, "Rrr." And Chuck Connors had a very unique kind of, like he had that look. Anyway, I always thought that'd be a funny t-shirt. Just without context, just his face, making that face, and then Me knowing that it's because he's getting railed. All right, dead on this day in 2001, Ken Kesey, American author, one of the popes of what would later come to be known as the psychedelic movement here in the United States. I believe he wrote The Acid Test. He was involved in the Merry Pranksters. He was a big San Francisco troublemaker. We're gonna turn it over to my grandpa on this one. Hey, Grandpa, how's that Ken Kesey guy do? Is he going to heaven or hell? He's going to hell. Nobody liked him. I mean, the hippies did, but the old people at the time, he was counterculture. He was a rabble rouser. Let me just put it to you this way. Ken, you prefer hell. You don't want to go to heaven. All right, 2003, Irv Kupcinet died. We're going to preemptively send him to hell because Irv Kupcinet was a iconic Chicago journalist, television show host. I don't know. He had a racket and he wrote it for about 60 years and he became an icon in that city, but he became a media icon. And I worked in media at the end of his career and I worked with a lot of people who knew Irv. A lot of people told stories about what an a-hole he is. So I am happily putting Irv Kupcinet in hell. Dead on this day in 2006, Jack Palance. Wait, what was his thing? Jack Palance used to do. Well, he did the push-ups. He did the old man push-ups at the Oscars. You think I'm old? And, he won the Oscar. He's like, look at this. And he did push-ups on stage, and that was cool. And everybody's like, look at the old man. But for me, I don't know who Jack Palance is. Jack Palance was an actor. He was like Chuck Connors. He did a lot of those like Chuck Connors era shows. He was often a bad guy. Here's what I remember of Jack Palance. Believe it or not. Remember him on Ripley's Believe It or Not? And he took that big, long, deep breath before you'd always hang on it. And they'd show you some weird story that was like, that couldn't have happened. And then Jack Palance would come on and go, believe it or not. Jack Palance is going to heaven. Putting Jack Palance in heaven. That gave me a lot of joy. I used to sit and do it with him. I used to sit in front of the TV and go, believe it or not. Who else we got? Norman Mailer. Norman Mailer died on this day in 2007. Funny story. I knew I was working for the wrong program director when at the end of my radio show, we had the breaking news that famed author, incredible cultural icon, Norman Mailer had passed away. And I took a couple of minutes at the end of my show to say, that really affects me. I'll tell you, the Executioner song, which is the story of Gary Gilmore, is one of the most, I spent like 2 minutes. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. That's it. Norman Mailer, dead at 83, and we ended the show. I got called right into my program director's office, and my program director goes, first of all, he didn't know who Norman Mailer was. So he did that thing that Trump does, where if Trump doesn't know something, or if Trump just learned something that like everybody else knows, Trump will be on stage and he'll say like, I just found out, or did you know? No, what he says is, nobody knows this, but, and then he says something that everybody knows, just stupid people don't know. That was kind of like my program director. He was like, Norman Mailer? Well, why do you even mention it? That's not, you think our audience knows who Norman Mailer is? I go, the ones with money who buy the big ticket items probably do. The ones with educations who aren't just complete fucking morons. You mentioned something that was the kind of nitpicky bullshit that I hated about corporate programming guys who don't know shit. Look, my audience doesn't give a shit that I just revealed something about myself, that one of my favorite authors is Norman Mailer. If anything, through the connective tissue of the kind of show that we do, that's going to make them understand me more. Doesn't matter if they know who he is. Maybe now they go, hey, that guy Pugs I like, he likes Norman Mailer. He died today. Maybe I'll read the obit. What the fuck is the problem? 2 minutes into the show, we're in the goddamn theme, and the program director is going to tell me, don't talk about Norman Mailer. Fuck you, he died. It's news, asshole. And it was big news. It was big news when he died. He's a very well-known author, Crazy man. Oh, by the way, Norman Mailer is absolutely in hell, just so there's no mistaking that. He is in hell. Crazy, crazy man. Anyway, great writer. But crazy people make great writers. Look at Hemingway. All right, that's going to do it. I think we're done. We are done with all of the people that we need to decide their fate. So let's move on. Time for quarter 4. Today's High Noon Rant is brought to you by our good friend Kojak. Kojak dropped a little something, dropped a bit of a bomb. He dropped a nice little dropping there in the tip jar. So this show does run on your gratuities. Help it out if you enjoy this kind of talk radio devoid of all that bullshit. Before we transition, thank you, Kojak. Kojak's a very old buddy of mine, one of my favorite people who I Yeah, you know those people who, we all got a couple of these people in our back pocket we haven't seen in a while, and someday we'll run into them somewhere, and it'll be a nice little moment of joy. You'll be like, that dude's still alive, and you give a big hug, and he's one of those guys. I got about 10 of those in my back pocket. Anyway, thank you to Kojak. That was a very nice surprise. Certainly not expected. Let's move on to all of the... Oh, by the way, I should mention this also. Thank you to Kojak. And if you folks feel so compelled, you can also join him. Big tipper of the day will be the executive producer on Monday's show. So thank you so much to today's executive producer, Kojak. Let's go. Topics. Here we go. Top things people are talking about. Israel. We're going to open up with Israel every day because I'm just going to touch on it. And as I always say, if you really want the latest breaking news and in the weeds diagnoses of, latest troop movements and shit about Israel, go somewhere else. Plenty of that out there. That's your bag. Fine. It ain't mine. Here is some big news though, concerning Israel this afternoon, or this morning, I should say. Secretary Blinken said some things that have kind of altered the perception of America's position in all this. America, remember I used to say, well, here's what happened. Here's an easy way to pick it up. Okay, we're all in a nightclub. All of us, the entire world is at this nightclub. And Israel is just sitting there at the bar, and Palestine comes by, right? And their little group of people. Israel's at the bar with their hot Israel girlfriend, Gal Gadot, let's just say, if it makes it easier to paint that picture. So they're at the bar with her, and Hamas comes through, and the bar's crowded, and the music is playing, and Hamas is like, hey, how you doing, my friend? And they come through. Not Hamas, Palestinians. These are the Palestinians, they come through. And there's probably like 15 of them. And within the group of Palestinians, there's like one of these dudes who's like a Hamas dude, and he reaches out from the crowd as they pass by, and he grabs Gal Gadot's ass, right? So Israel's girlfriend's ass got grabbed in the club. Now they're going to fight. That's fucking, that's a bridge too far. You can't do that. So now they're going to fight. But are they pissed off at the entire group of Palestinians or just the assholes who are in there? So now we're all out in the parking lot. The whole world is out there. You got China, you got Russia, you got America. But you got right now, they think it's the dude from Hamas that was mixed in with the other Palestinians, but they're going to fight the dude from Israel. And let me tell you about the dude from Israel. The dude from Israel is going to kick the shit out of this little Palestinian. That's not even close. It's not even fair. But because of what occurred on October 7th with the ass grabbing, the whole world is standing around going, well, it kind of asked for it, and maybe this will be a lesson to anybody else that thinks that they want to just go attack a civilian population and grab Gal Gadot's ass. So that's what's happening. And for the longest time, the United States has been the other big dude. There's like 3 dudes who are like bouncers at this club. It's, America, it's China, and it's Russia. Yeah, I know India's pretty tough, and Brazil talks a good game, but let's just keep it at those 3. So we're in the parking lot, and they're about to fight. Israel's got real reason. We all agree. We all agree that, yeah, that was some bullshit and somebody needs a bloody nose for it. So we're going to let this happen. America, for the longest time, has been standing there with their arms in the circle going, let them fight. Let them fight. Stay out of it. It's been our position. Today, that position changed. That position changed when Secretary Blinken said, far too many Palestinians are dying. Israel must do more to protect Palestinian citizens. Now that sounds like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, it's probably, but when you say that, when speaking for the United States, when the Secretary of State says that, it has bigger heft on the world stage, and it signals to everyone else that maybe this tide of Israel's just going to kick the shit out of them is turning a little. And not turning like we're going to suddenly go against Israel. No. But maybe this is America. This is Israel. Basically, Palestine is on the ground in the parking lot, and Israel's on top of them, and Israel's just raining down blows. And now America has gone, ho, 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 stop, separate them. That's a pretty big policy shift in the last couple of hours. So that's what's happening. That's out of our side, America. We are now publicly saying that maybe Israel is going too far, which is something that we hadn't said, which was almost seen. Our silence was seen as an endorsement of the military policies of Israel. We were quiet about it. Let them fight. Let them fight. But now we're going, hey, whoa, pull them off. That's what we're doing now. So that's a big change. Developing ... as they say. Biden and Xi, this is turning into quite the thing in San Francisco. And it's got all kinds of ceremonial importance and, all of that kind of stuff. San Francisco is Xi's favorite place in America. And first of all, not to say, but he's coming to America. That's pretty big. Why is this a big deal? Well, let's go back to the parking lot. Okay. Let's go back to the parking lot where they're fighting. Oh, and by the way, there's another fight that's been going on over there between Russia and Ukraine, and we're all just tired of those two going at it. But so now we're really focusing on the main fight in the parking lot at this dance club at 3 a.m. Cops haven't arrived yet. Arrived? They haven't arrived. All right, so remember I told you there's 3 big bouncers, America, Russia, and China, right? So America and China, until very recently, have been in, I think they like the same girl. I think that's what it is. I think America and China like the same girl. And, they don't want to fight because they know they're both going to get hurt. And they know that they're not sure who's going to, you know what I mean? They don't want to fight. They know that mutual assured destruction kind of a deal. So that's kind of been a cold thing between the two of them. They're on opposite sides of this circle going, let them fight. And they're making weird eye contact with another. But now, is it Wednesday? I believe it's Wednesday. Look at this. Okay. China is moving from their side of the circle. They are coming over to the side where America is and going, let's talk about this. It's fucking great. That is really great. Just talking is always better than shit talking. And shit talking is kind of what we've been going through with China. And at the very least, if this just calms that whole part of the thing down for a while, because there's a lot going on. I believe the most important thing going on is our situation with China. And is China going to join a bunch of bad guys and suddenly create this gigantic bad force in the world? Is it going to be China and Iran and Syria and Turkey? And is it? Because that's not a good group of people. I know some of you in America are like, well, that wouldn't be so bad. All right. Check back with me 9 months after you've got a Turkish style government. Okay. We'll see. Big news. They're going to meet in China. Xi Jinping, president of China, loves the United States, loves San Francisco. That's what he likes. And this is good. This is going to be some good talks. We'll see. We'll look, if they end up in headlocks, it's a problem. But I think this is good. I think the China and America sitting down right now and going, what the fuck is going on in the world and what role can we play in calming it down is a very good thing. So look forward to that. What else is trending? Okay, so here's a little political news. This is gonna, affect both parties, I guess, in some way. But Joe Manchin, a West Virginia, polarizing Democrat from West Virginia, has announced that he is not going to seek re-election. Whatever. It's always been weird. Hasn't it always been weird that West Virginia? You know what? Look, there's a couple things that are weird. It's weird that West Virginia has a Democrat as a senator. I just wouldn't think that would be it. Also, weird that Kentucky just reelected a Democrat as governor of their state. So I love that, though, because it shows that there is room for people to just avoid the party. Andy Beshear in Kentucky is not your typical Democrat. He's a Southern, middle-of-the-road, reasonable, rational guy who sees nonsense and goes, yeah, that's nonsense. That's not even true with that guy. You guys are all marching for this guy, and he just said something that's just not legally true, and you all think it is. He's that guy. And that's the guy that we need. Not somebody who's politically motivated to shout down the other side because of some ideology, but someone who I keep begging for. Just someone in the middle. Just someone in the middle who's going to call bullshit out. And I'm not saying that Andy Beshear is the great white hope. I'm not. Or whatever that could mean in the context. I guess in the context, that is a racist saying, the great white hope. What I mean is, I'm not saying that Andy Beshear is Mr. Smith. Because I keep saying we need Mr. Smith. I'm not saying, I'm just using it as an example of an odd electoral anomaly where in Kentucky, deep red Kentucky, they've now elected twice a Democratic governor because he can connect, because he connects with people and he's not an asshole. That's why he wins. I mean, it's not like it's not like smack dab in the middle of Kentucky, there's Atlanta where, you're going to skew a more progressive vote. No, it's Kentucky. What do they got in Kentucky? Lexington? Louisville? What's the biggest city in Kentucky? There's not exactly urban. So it does show that we can find some kind of middle ground, some kind of compromise candidate, because they should not be electing a Democrat in Kentucky. Joe Manchin is no longer going to be a senator in West Virginia. 8 billion people. I just need all 8 billion of you now on this earth to drop $1 into the fund, Cash App or Venmo. That'd be great. We could fund the show for the next month. 8 billion people. There's 8 billion people on the planet now. And we crossed that number. The United States government announced something today that says that they believe that we have crossed the population mark of 8 billion people on this planet 2 weeks ago. We missed the actual day because, how that would be hard. People report births late, last kid was born on this, whatever. Anyway, 8 billion people. Don't know what that means, but if each and every one of you could just drop $1. Let's talk about, here's a nice story. All right, so now we're getting into stupid stories. There's really not a lot of news today. Guys, hold on. I need to step away for just one quick minute. I need to turn the heat off. It is hot. Hold on. All right. So there's a cool profile. Where did I see this at? I can't find it. We are always, with your NFL season, you're always looking for your good stories. Of course, you had the story of my Bears had the story of Tyson Bagent, the undrafted. Oh God, he can't throw. He can't throw. They hyped him. Undrafted out of Shepherd. He's the all-time NCAA record holder in touchdowns and completions. Undrafted out of Shepherd, came into camp as the fourth quarterback. He was just they're taking a flyer on him. We'll see this kid. By midway through camp, he's now the second. The Bears are cutting the two quarterback. They cut Nathan Peterman. They cut the dude. Who's the other kid they cut? Who's now in Cleveland, starting in Cleveland. I don't know, whatever. But that was a big story they tried to force down our throat. They forced it down our throat last night on that absolutely brutal Thursday night football game. Tyson Bagent, his dad's the arm wrestling champion of the world, and that whole thing. Then why is his arm so shitty? If Tyson Bagent's dad is the world's greatest arm wrestler in history, and he is, Travis Bagent, look it up. He was on ESPN and all that. Anyways, very interesting thing. Remember getting drunk in college and then watching ESPN arm wrestling at 2 a.m? That was Tyson Bagent's dad. Anyway, and it's all true. But why does his arm suck? Anyway, that's a great. I don't understand why the son of the world's best arm wrestler has such a shitty arm. What do you mean a shitty arm? He won the Harlan Hill Trophy, and he leads the NCAA record books in touchdowns and passes completed. Yeah, at Division II, playing against guys who showed up late for the game because their shift at the Amazon warehouse ran a little long. Come on, stop it. So anyway, that was a story they tried to force down our throat. But here's a story they are forcing down our throat that they tried to force down our throat last year when he was with the Titans, and I caught it then, and I was like, this is a great story. Well, they're catching on now because this kid's having a little bit of a moment, maybe a little bit of a Jeremy Lin type moment, if you will. But we're talking about Josh Dobbs, NFL quarterback, veteran, much traveled NFL quarterback. He was, I don't know where he came from, Tennessee, but I don't remember him in college. I don't remember him being a name. I don't remember him being drafted or whatever. So he's just sort of one of these filler space and guys. He's a good athlete. Take a look at him. He's got some accomplishments. Well, he is hooked on in the NFL. He replaced Ryan Tannehill last year in season. In season, he was the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. And then they moved on from him in the offseason because we couldn't possibly have. So the Arizona Cardinals took him. And they knew they were going to have Kyler Murray problems. So Joshua Dobbs was the starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals for a while. Now, Kirk Cousins goes down in Minnesota. And by the way, he doesn't do terrible. Josh Dobbs had some games. He had some games there. So then Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles or whatever. I think it was his Achilles. I don't know. Not sure. Kirk Cousins is done. He's gone for the season. Minnesota needs a quarterback. They're not a terrible team. They could make the playoffs. They decide to make a last-minute deal with Arizona. Hey, you know that guy you got filling in for Kyler Murray? We'd really like him. Can we give you a draft? So they trade at the deadline. Minnesota, desperate. They get Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs is kind of balling out up there in Minnesota. And people are going, holy crap. Look, this also supports my long-held point that experts in the NFL are smoke and mirrors. It's all confidence, and it's a suit, and I had steak last night with Bill Belichick. It's all bullshit and bravado. Cut through all the nonsense of what these so-called experts who tell you who's good and who's bad. Cut through all that nonsense. And what you get down to is someone going, I sit on a couch and watch football better than you. That's really all it is. Because don't tell me about the stats. All that shit is available. There are any number of services that you can pay $5 a month for, and you can get access to all kinds of breakdowns. What is that? What is it? Is it all 22? Is that the thing that they all subscribe to, which supposedly gives them their great insight? So experts are nonsense. And the experts looked at Josh Dobbs and they went, this guy sucks. He ain't worth your time. You know what you ought to do? You ought to take Mitch Trubisky number 2. That's what the experts said. You ought to level. Hey, Carolina, you know what you ought to do? You ought to leverage your entire future. Give Chicago every one of your future top picks and take Bryce Young because he played for Saban in Alabama, and he's got to be great. Don't take C.J. Stroud. The experts were absolutely certain that it was Bryce Young who was the guy. Obviously, there's one, and then there's a huge drop. C.J. Stroud looks like the best young quarterback to enter the league since, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the first. Herbert? I'm trying to think of a rookie quarterback who stepped in and went, wow. C.J. Stroud plays for a shitty team, and he's wowing. Bryce Young, the experts said, amazing. Did you see Bryce Young last night? Bryce Young is terrible. Bryce Young, what they kept showing the comparison. They kept showing the comparison between Bryce Young, Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 overall pick, the guy that Carolina gave up their entire future for, Bryce Young, versus Tyson Bagent, undrafted, Division II, Harlan Hill Trophy winner, which they say is the equivalent to the Heisman in Division II. And the experts, if you were to go back to like February, you sat down a panel of football quarterback experts in a head-to-head battle. Who wins? Bryce Young, number 1 from Alabama, or this kid from the hills of West Virginia in some Division II school nobody's ever heard of? Every expert would have told you, well, Bryce Young is can't miss. Well, they would have been wrong because Bryce Young sucks. And last night, head-to-head, Tyson Bagent was by far the better quarterback than Bryce Young. Anyway, C.J. Stroud is turning out to be a better quarterback than Bryce Young. Now, is there room for him to grow? Sure. I don't believe in judging a quarterback by the first year. I don't believe in judging a quarterback by the first 2 years. I think it's the third year where you get an idea of this guy and his adaptation to the NFL game. Back to Josh Dobbs. This is a great story. He was overlooked. You know why Josh Dobbs was overlooked? He was seen to not be as serious about football as he is about his dream to be an astronaut. His nickname, Josh Dobbs' nickname is the Pastronaut. Oh my God, that is like the best, coolest football. Josh Dobbs is a rocket scientist. Josh Dobbs, in his spare time when he isn't quarterbacking the Minnesota Vikings, works at NASA in their, their Artemis program. He is a genius. And that's why the experts didn't think Josh Dobbs he's not serious enough about football. And, I hate the experts. Anyway, it's a really great story. It's the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal today is a very big profile on Josh Dobbs. If you're into reading, you got to move your bowels or something like this. Headline, the rocket scientist quarterbacking an unlikely NFL playoff contender. Only unlikely if you think the experts know how to watch football better than you. My point is this. It's not like me watching football would have cherry-picked Josh Dobbs and gone, he can't miss. My point is, none of us know. My point is, all of these kids are good athletes. Maybe their coaches know. I would put stock. I would say an expert on a particular quarterback who may be a top pick in the draft. The expert I just want to talk to on that guy is his quarterback's coach. That's it. That's the only guy. I don't want to talk to his former high school coach. That guy's going to blow smoke up your ass. I don't want to talk to his head coach because his head coach at college is going to want one of his players going in the top 5. Talk to the quarterback coach. Quarterback coach will give you the truth. You know why? Because the quarterback coach knows that he ain't going to be in this program forever. He's trying to move up. He wants to be the head coach somewhere. And unless he really thinks there's a direct line to being head coach at wherever he is, he's not going to, quarterback coaches always give you, why? Because those players are truly tied to them. And if a quarterback coach in college is telling you about a potential draft pick that he has coached, and you think, well, he's just saying that because he wants him to go number 1. No, these players are tied directly to their coaches, and especially the guys who taught them early footwork and, all of the pocket presence and all the stuff that they learned in college. College quarterback coach take that shit very seriously. They don't want one of their guys going in the top 5 and then being Mitch Trubisky. That's a bad look on them. So they will tell you, they will protect their own brand, quarterback coaches. If you're coming to them and you're like, hey, it says your guy's going in the first round, what do you think? That quarterback coach at that college for that kid is the one that's likely to give you the absolute truth, because if he ain't ready to go in the 5th and he's going to be a bust, it's going to be bad for his resume. That's just how it works. Chase Daniel explained that on The Score once, and I thought that was really interesting. That's how it works. Anyway, experts are bullshit. Josh Dobbs, root for him. Harvard, Tennessee, Artemis program, NASA. And then he's out there running around like Michael Vick. He's like, whoop, 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 whoop. Root for these people. Seems like a good dude. Nobody gave him a chance. And, well, you know who did give him a chance? NASA. NASA's like, yeah, well, when the pastronaut's done fucking around with stupid shit, maybe he can come back here and try and expand humanity's reach into the universe. Whatever, beat the Packers on Sunday or expand man's reach into the universe. You got to pick your life's goals. You got to pick what you're doing. What do we got here? Oh, this was funny. I saw this. This was a story that was today. This isn't politics. This is just funny because I like when people are bitches. But it was a story that was titled "The Real Housewives of MAGA," and it's a bit misleading because it's neither about housewives or necessarily MAGA. But Peter Thiel is a billionaire. He's an activist billionaire. He's right-wing causes, a great funder of Republican candidates for years and years and years. Very high-profile guy. Peter Thiel, billionaire. Peter Thiel is no longer going to be supporting Republican candidates. No, he's taking his big bag of money and he's going home. Because here, I'll read you what he says. He's upset because apparently Trump said something mean about him. Trump asked him for a bunch of money and he went, no, I'm not going to give you that much money. And Trump said, well, you're a terrible person or whatever. So let me read you this story. This is just so bitchy. This is just like billionaires trying to control the world, just being little bitchy, petty bitches with each other. Peter Thiel says, Trump failed to meet even my lowest expectations. There are a lot of things that I got wrong. That's what Peter Thiel is saying. He says, billionaire Republican donor Peter Thiel expressed disappointment with former President Donald Trump's time in office, remarking that the administration failed to meet even his lowest of expectations. During an interview with The Atlantic's Barton Gellman, Thiel said, voting for Trump was like a not very articulate scream for help, which he hoped would change the country for the better, but which ultimately left him disappointed and disenchanted with the process. There are a lot of things I got wrong, Thiel told Gellman. It was crazier than I thought. It was more dangerous than I thought. They couldn't get the most basic pieces of government to work. So I think that part was maybe worse than even my low expectations. Thiel, who financially backed Trump in 2016, revealed that Trump had recently called him to say he was very sad and had expected way more of a contribution after Thiel refused to give the former president more money this election cycle. Months later, this is why I think they called it the Real Housewives of MAGA. Months later, word got back to Thiel that Trump had called Blake Masters to discourage him from running for the Senate, and then had called Thiel a fucking scumbag. Adding that Thiel no longer wanted to make donations to Republicans. Fuck that scumbag, Trump apparently said. So do you see what's happening? So a couple of super rich billionaires who are angry that they're not sharing money anymore. Thiel told Gelman, there's always a chance that I might change my mind. Right, of course there is, because you're being a petty bitch, because you just get your feelings hurt. Thiel told Gelman, there's always a chance I might change my mind, but by talking to you, it makes it hard for me to change now. My husband doesn't want me to give them any more money. And he's right. That's the other thing. He's also like one of these right. He's far right, but he's also gay and very high profile gay and a gay activist. He's an interesting guy, Peter Thiel. He's scary. I think he's scary. He frightens me because he's what he did to Gawker. Woo! You better be afraid of Peter Thiel because he's willing to waste billions to destroy you. Thiel told Gelman, there's always a chance I might change my mind, but by talking to you, it makes it hard for me. Let's see here. My husband doesn't want me to give them any more money, and he's right. I know they're going to be pestering me like crazy, and by talking to you, it's going to lock me out this cycle for 2024, and I'm very pleased about that. Thiel also called Trump's attempts to overturn the results. It's okay, we didn't get into that shit. But Real Housewives of MAGA, they're bickering back and forth over who's going to spend money. See, never mind. Elon Musk. Let's talk about Elon Musk. He is in the news today. Movie time. That's right. Can you believe there hasn't been an Elon Musk movie yet? I'm surprised. I'm surprised there's not like a Netflix series, Musk. Who would even play Musk? They're making an Elon Musk movie. That's why I'm Darren Aronofsky is from The Wrestler and from Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, all the movies that the worst people told you were awesome. That's how I would describe Darren Aronofsky's films. The worst person you know, like the most insufferable. I don't mean worst like, hey, he cosplays as a Nazi on weekends. I don't mean like that. I mean just like the most irritable, the most pretentious, the most, oh, well, you know what I mean? Those people, those people love Darren Aronofsky. I hate him. Darren Aronofsky once did a Requiem for a Dream is the only one that's pretty good. That was like one of his early films. That was about heroin addiction. It's pretty good. But Black Swan is a bore. The Wrestler is a bore. It was Mickey Rourke's big comeback. Yeah, how'd that work out for him? We seeing Mickey Rourke everywhere. The ubiquitous Mickey Rourke. When his comeback, he did one movie. He got good reviews, and then everybody went, oh yeah, we don't like Mickey Rourke. Forgot about him again. The Wrestler sucked. That movie sucked. It was such a moving story. It's boring as fuck. That movie isn't even interesting. Anyway, Darren Aronofsky once did an episode of Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown where they went to like, I don't know, Thailand or something. It was weird. But it was noteworthy in that it was the first time that I ever saw Anthony Bourdain be filming an episode with someone who he obviously did not like. They did not get along. It was just, like Darren Aronofsky is so pretentious, and so it was. You could tell that like Bourdain would like make looks at the camera like, oh, this guy, like roll his eyes like, oh god. So anyway, that's who's making the Elon Musk movie, Darren Aronofsky. So it's gonna suck. It's being based, the source material is Walter Isaacson's book that was just released a couple of weeks ago. The Elon Musk got a lot of fanfare. Elon Musk's Elon, I believe it's called, or maybe Musk, who knows? One or the other. You can't go wrong. Walter Isaacson is like America's biographer of note. He does bios on everybody big. So it's going to be made into a movie, a bad movie by Darren Aronofsky, but I'll probably see it because he is such an, Did Aronofsky, did he also make Jobs? I think he also maybe ruined the Jobs movie. That movie sucked. There were two Jobs movies that came out at the same time. One of them was okay. One of them sucked. I'm guessing the one that sucked was the one that Darren Aronofsky. Yes, it did. The one that sucked was the Fassbender one. The one that starred Michael. The one that was actually okay, shockingly, was the one where Ashton Kutcher played Steve Jobs. There you go. Of the two Steve Jobs movies that were made, I prefer the Ashton Kutcher one. Look at me. Who's going to play Elon? Who plays Elon? Who could play Elon? I was trying to think of this earlier. Like, who would they cast to play Elon Musk? Let me just ask Google. Let's see if Google's got any suggestions here. Who will be cast to play Elon Musk in the movie? All right, fans say they want one actor. What is this? Who should play Elon Musk in the movie? In a recent Reddit thread, commenters top voted casting picks for Musk. Nicolas Cage, too old. We're gonna have to see Musk. We're gonna have to see Musk in his 20s. Can't do Nicolas Cage. What the fuck, you, Nicolas? The Nicolas Cage army. It just needs to stand down. Look, I love Nicolas Cage as much as anybody, but there was this wave of people that just think Nicolas Cage is something more than he is. Stop it. Who else? Rami Malek. Rami Malek as Elon Musk. Played Freddie Mercury. That's dude afraid. Rami Malek could be interesting. Don't love it. We'll write it down. We'll come back to Rami. I don't love it, but hey, see what he can do. Who else? Robert Downey Jr. is too old, man. That sucks. That is shit fuck casting. Why? Why? Because Elon Musk tries to live his life like Tony Stark. So now you're going to retro engineer that? That's not how it works. The actual Elon Musk isn't Tony Stark. I don't want Tony Stark playing Elon. Are you fucking kidding me? Jesse Eisenberg. They're like, Jesse Eisenberg. Isn't that the same kid who did Zuckerberg? Oh, that would be fun. That would be that would be fun. The same guy who did Zuckerberg did, I don't know. I have no picks. Do you guys have any picks? Vince Vaughn? Too old. Too old. Dude, it's got to be a dude in his early 30s. It's got to be somebody who can be younged up enough to play 22 and olded up enough to play a convincing 50. It can't be somebody who starts out at 50. It just can't. You got to have, so the actor's going to be, well, just give it to DiCaprio. Just fucking whatever. Just go DiCaprio. Fine. He'll be good. He's good in everything. Who else? I'm trying to think. Is there anybody? Walton Goggins. There you go. I want Walton Goggins to play. That's my pick, and I'm not backing off it. Walton Goggins. Big old toothy Walton Goggins is who I want to play. No. Or what about? Come on. Who's the guy? Danny McBride. There you go. Let's cast Danny McBride as Elon Musk. Are we having fun? Come on. Darren Aronofsky. Take that stick out of your butt and cast Danny McBride. All right, the Elon movie's coming. A little story that James has been covering voraciously. Not really. He mentioned it twice. He's been covering it on the Radio Misfits. He's fascinated with the story of the Virginia Democrat, the lady we covered here a couple of months back. She's running for office there in Virginia. Her election was on Tuesday. If you remember, she had a problem in that it was discovered that she's an OnlyFans model who does naughty, sexy stuff on OnlyFans. And James was like, we're trying to track the election over. We don't know where it is. Well, here, I got a story on that. Virginia Democrat Susanna Gibson loses state house seat after sex video scandal. Yeah, I don't know. The Democrat Susanna Gibson has conceded her race to represent Virginia's 57th House Delegates District, which drew national attention after the release of a sex video. Republican businessman David Owens defeated Gibson, a nurse practitioner, in the competitive district outside Richmond. Yeah, used her female sexuality against her. Typical man, typical Republican businessman David Owens. You can't run for office and have sex videos. You got to know this stuff, dummy. And you know what it is? Everybody's looking at Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lorena Bobert and going, I can do that. And okay, clean up your shit. Clean out the closet, man, because they're going to find shit on you and it's going to be really embarrassing. Susanna Gibson. Shut up. Sit down. You're an OnlyFans model? You can't do what you don't think people are going to know. I don't care if they know. Well, I do because I'm running your campaign and they ain't going to vote for you because they think you're a dummy. Or at least morally suspect. There, let's put it there. Let's not make any judgments. There is concern that a number of the people in your constituency might find you morally suspect for these choices. I don't. You know me. I'm like Mr. Sexual. Shut up about your sexual. Who cares? Shut up. Sex. Closed doors, lights off, under the covers. Let's go. Nobody cares. We shouldn't be asking about each other's sex lives unless you're in a situation where asking about each other's sex life is fine, right? You're out drinking. How's the sex life? That's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying never. Just, all right, moving on. Oh, here's a story. I want to talk about this story. This story is there is no purpose for this story. The only there is nobody being saved. There's nobody being, I mean, I guess existentially you can say that there's a greater moral purpose to this story, but this is really, it just seems like it's just dick move. We got certain laws or ordinances or things that we've enacted over these past 6 years that are just now, when they're being enacted against people, they're just fucking dick moves. That's a dick move. Really? You're going to put somebody in jail that's a dick move. You fucking, anyway, check this out. I know I'm salty today. I'm salty. I'm swearing a lot. So up there in Sherman, the story about the Sherman High School. This story's making national news. Leave it to us here in North Texas. So here's the deal. So there's a trans student. Oh God, that's right. It's one of these trans stories. So there's a trans student up there in Sherman, which I have to tell you, this is the thing that I find. Let me choose the proper word. Well, how do I find it? Surprising. There you go. Here's the thing that I find surprising. I've spent over the past 12 weeks a lot of time at high school events, high school settings, different high schools throughout the Metroplex, sitting in bleachers with bunches of other rando high school students everywhere running around. It's nice. It's nice. You sit and you look at All American. What I will say that I have been surprised by is the amount of trans students and gender fluid students. I don't know however they choose to define themselves. That's their business. I will adhere. I'm shocked at how many there are. I'm shocked at how normal it is. To my 14-year-old meatball football player son, again, why I struggled to find the right word, that I'm surprised to see this, because this is not something that you never saw. I mean, it's not, times they change, and it is incumbent upon those of us who are lucky enough to have the perspective of multiple times in multiple eras to try and do our best to change with it. So is it different for me when I just see, someone sits next to me at the game and I don't know if that's a boy or a girl? I can't tell. Is that different? Yeah, that's different, because I grew up in an era where we were conditioned and programmed. I talk a lot about programming. We were conditioned and programmed that there's guys and there's girls, and, we could barely handle the emergence of gay people in the 80s and 90s. A lot of people had problems with that. So it's surprising. Let me also choose my word properly. My 14-year-old son's attitudes and awareness of this, what we're being told is a third gender, although, come on. I'm surprised by my 14-year-old son's absolute acceptance, absolute tolerance, absolute no, there's no hate, there's no judgment. It's just like, yeah, it's just a thing. Yeah, there's dudes that dress like girls in school, and there's girls who, dress like guys. It's surprising to me. Yesterday when I went on my rant about young kids and about how, yeah, they're irritating as fucking all that stuff, but you know what? I really think that they are making an attempt at the end of the day to be better people, to be less cynical and less pessimistic, and I think that's a good thing. Now, you got to go through a whole lot of nonsense to get there, but they're not irredeemable, is my point. My point is, these kids that are so irritating, that are living this life that we find unrecognizable at times, they're not irredeemable. I believe that the fuel behind it all is based in righteousness. It's goodness. It's being tolerant. It's being cool. And why are they able to do it? And why is it so shocking to us? Because we are steeped in pessimism. We are steeped in cynicism. That's what the world does to us. Now, we could also sit here on the sidelines and we can say, yeah, well, wait till that kid goes through a divorce or gets the IRS after. We'll see who's cynical then. And you're right. It's part of the growth process. That's what maturing is about. That's what life is about. We do change. Life takes a big shit on us. And maybe this once hopeful and optimistic and joyous individual suddenly turns into that mean old fucking Karen screaming at you on her front. That's life. So where I'm at in my life is understanding that I don't recognize the world anymore. And it's not my world. It's not the world that I made. It's a different world. It's a different world being made by other kids. And I can be irritated by some of it. I can be, oh my God, why is her hair like that? You know, that's just because those things are foreign to me. And why do you get that reaction when something is foreign? Because something foreign could be a threat. And when something could be a threat, they could hurt you. And when somebody is a possibility of hurting you, you need to be defensive. That's what all of that is about. Now, I know you're like, Pugs, you're looking too deep into it. Fuck you. Your brain fires a billion thoughts in the blink of an eye. So yeah, you've got to take a pause and you got to look at this. Why did you roll your eyes when you saw that girl's hair? Because that hair was different than what you are used to. Why did that cause an eye roll? Because you are made uncomfortable when things aren't what you expect. Why are you made uncomfortable? Because I like things to be what I expect, because then I don't have to think about them and I don't have to worry about them. Okay, so when something isn't what you expect, you now have to be like, okay, why is this different? And that causes... See, it's all connected. You can figure out what all of this shit is. So me, at my age, this whole trans issue, you know, we've been working through this together for 2 years. I wonder if 2 years ago when we first started talking about trans issues, I wonder what I sounded like then as compared to now. I would imagine different, because if we don't evolve, then we're just blockheads. That's what a blockhead does. If you don't change your opinion or evolve your opinion or find the nuance in something that maybe you didn't understand before, if we don't do that, then you're just choosing to be angry. You're just choosing to be, I don't know. So I want to get into this story about Sherman, but I wanted to make sure that my views on this subject are completely understood. A transgender student in Sherman, Texas, got a lead role in the school play, and then the district took it away because they're trans. So now, first of all, okay, so let's establish a couple of the things. So now we're talking about trans people in theater, which, you know, I got to imagine that's where most of them are coming from. I think that, you know, the theater departments are where I would assume you might find some. I mean, why? Because theater departments are very accepting. Theater kids are very, you know, so that's what I'm saying. So you can't be a trans and be in a play, because now at this point we're getting into what kind of roles are they playing? And that's what this is about. A woman, a girl, a biological girl, she was born biologically a girl, she was assigned the birth gender of girl, is now going to high school in Sherman as a boy. She's trans male. I don't know. I struggle with this. Trans male. She's going to school. She's in the drama department. I'm sorry. I got to do this right. I got to do this right. Because again, it's hard for me because I'm old, but what the fuck? That's one of the things that suck about getting old. Stares and using the proper verbiage when talking about the modern world that has passed you by. All right. So he is in the drama department there, and he is talented. He is one of the best singers in the choir. I mean, he has talent. The school knows they got talent. He wins the lead role in Oklahoma, a male role. He's playing Ali. What's that character's name? I don't know. It's like a Muslim name or something. Anyway, he's playing the lead role in Oklahoma, a play that has been staged on American high school theater departments for 50 years. It's freaking Oklahoma, okay? Oddly enough, right on the border of Oklahoma, up there in Sherman. All right, so once this person was cast as the lead role in Oklahoma as a trans male, the school board got involved and said, yeah, no, we've got a thing that says that if you're cast if you're a male, you got to play a male, and if you're a female, they say that it's a rule, and it's been a rule that's in place, and it has nothing to do with this person. How idiotic is this? You can't do that in theater. These are some hillbilly morons who don't know the first. Look, I don't know how a theater kid survives Denison, Texas anyway, but holy shit. Do you know that Shakespeare didn't allow actresses? Every Shakespeare role was played by someone in drag or someone Greek theater, Greek tragedies, all men, no women, men and young boys playing women. So, I mean, this idea that you can't cross-dress in theater productions, that's been a theatrical element forever. And now they're assigning it some political or social or cultural bullshit. Stop it. Nobody cares. You do. So I'm going to read you the story. As he walked out of his theater director's office last month, Max Hightower, cool name though. Max Hightower, I'm not going to get bogged down in details. Max Hightower tried to keep his cool. The 17-year-old had just been offered a main role in his Texas high school production of Oklahoma, playing a peddler who's a love interest opposite one of the musical's female leads. After having held only singing ensemble roles for many years, but standing out, Max, who is transgender, was set to star as a lead with his own song. He'd already started picturing himself on stage, imagining ways that he'd make the character his own. And drama kids. Irritating, but fun. Let's see. He whispered to his friends, who erupted in screams and cheers when he told them that he had been cast in the lead role, that for so long, Max had to ask his theater director for a late pass to his next class because he was so excited telling everybody. He was happy, old Max. He got the role of a lifetime. But the next week, the role was no longer his. An administrator told the Hightower family on November 3rd that Max would have to be recast because of a new policy that required Sherman High School students to portray characters that align with their sex assigned at birth. Now, in the beginning of this, I said, this whole thing just seems like something that's a dick move. You're just being a dick move, okay? This is stupid. This is so dumb. Are they afraid that, is it because he has a vagina, he's playing a male character, and that male character has to kiss another female? Is this like an anti-lesbian thing? This is so silly. This is going to blow back so badly on this school board. This is not going to go over well. This is unnecessary. This doesn't need to be a national story. You just leave the theater department alone to be the theater kids. I thought that was the deal. I thought that we gave them this whole part of the high school to go do their stuff and go be weird and smoke clove cigarettes and listen to the Smiths and stuff like that. That's what I thought the deal was. Now we're fucking with them. Can't we just let the theater kids be the theater kids and put on shit that we go, that was good? Because ultimately that's what they do. Even the biggest meatball will sit through a high school production of something and go, that wasn't so bad. Because they're not. These kids work hard. These kids try. An administrator told the Hightower family that he'd have to be recast because now there was a new rule, a new policy that required Sherman High School students to portray characters that align with their sex assigned at birth. His parents told the Washington Post. Ooh, the Washington Post is involved. Well, that's how I'm reading it. The sudden change meant that Max and several others, transgender and cisgender students alike. See, look at this. Sherman, this is just the theater department. Sherman, there are multiple transgender students. That's a new thing for us to have to just be okay with. And yeah, we do. That's the requirement. We have to be okay with it. Well, I don't want to be okay with it. All right, let's go back to it. Why aren't you okay with it? What is your problem? It's because they're different. Okay, and different makes you feel how? Because of why? Because it's scary, right? It's all about cowardice. All of these hatreds and intolerance, they all boil down to cowardice. A subconscious level of cowardice, to be sure. Like, I don't think a lot of these big bad guys call themselves a coward because they're not. They're not afraid to throw the first punch. But emotionally, there's some cowardice there. And that's what it's all about. Intolerance towards things that you are not comfortable with or used to that have no effect on you in any other way. It's because you're scared. It's because you're scared. It's because it's unrecognizable. Now, you're not scared like, what was that noise? You're scared in a very sort of domino type way in your head. I don't need therapy anymore. I just come here and I just talk about all these rules of therapy. I'm basically a therapist. No, I'm not. I could probably be sued for saying that. One of you take some of my stupid advice and something bad happens and then suddenly I'm like the bad guy. He ran a cult. Every day at noon he would. You know, they could spin this. They could spin this like we're all a bunch of weirdos who've been getting together here at noon for 2.5 years. I mean, they'd be right. All right, let's move on with the story. On Monday, the Sherman Independent School District sent a letter to families and staff that said the production would be postponed until 2024. It was brought to the district's attention that the current production contained mature adult themes. All right, you see what they're doing now? Because it blew up, because the family of the trans kid was like, yeah, no, I don't think you can do that. We're calling the Washington Post. Because it blew up, the Sherman School Board went, whoa, wait a second, hold on. We're going to just cancel the whole production because we didn't know. We didn't know that you guys were doing this sexy, dirty pornographic. As I said at the beginning, Oklahoma has been performed in high schools for 50 years. And now they're saying, nah, there's too much sexual, because there's no sexual content in Oklahoma. Holy shit, they just keep digging a hole bigger and bigger. It was brought to the district's attention that the current production of Oklahoma contained mature adult themes, profane language, and sexual content. Unfortunately, all aspects of the production will now need to be reviewed. You're going to need to review Oklahoma, you fucking pompous piece of shit. Shut up. Like what? You're the first to discover. Oklahoma is not a new play from some local playwright. The letter clarified that there is no blanket policy affecting how students are assigned roles. It's not a blanket. It's just a feel. We just feel that this is weird. But for this particular production, administrators wrote, the sex of the role as identified in the script will be used when casting. All right, there you have it. So that's going on up there in Sherman. Again, man, you got to just let the weird drama kids do their weird drama kid stuff. Can't we leave them alone? Why are we fucking with them? It's just not cool. It's just nobody's cool anymore. Everybody's a dick. That's it. How did that happen? When did that happen? We need the Fonz again. For about 20 years after the Fonz, everybody was trying to be cool. Yeah, man, no, be cool. Hey. And then all of a sudden now, for like the last 7, 8, 9 years, it's like being a dick is cool. I do actually, I've thought about this. I do actually think it goes back. I do feel like shock radio of the 90s has a lot to do with the fact that everybody's a dick now. People say things to other people in public with just such casualness that they would never have said in 1980 to someone in public. And I think they do it because they've been listening to Howard Stern and Russ Martin and Pugs and Kelly and Don and Mike or whatever. It's just we've normalized the idea of being shockingly irreverent and saying shit that no one should say because I'm the wild say anything guy. And that's maybe fine when you're on the radio and you're getting advertising for it. But when you're the guy at the party who decides, I'm going to be like my favorite shock jock and say stuff, suddenly that becomes normal. And now we live in a world where everybody's an asshole and nobody's interesting. The UFC is being sued. The UFC is involved in a really big class action lawsuit. The Saudi sovereign Saudi fund is also involved. Here's what's going on. There's a class action lawsuit that's going to be heard now concerning thousands of former fighters who are suing the UFC for what they claim is a monopoly. Now, the arguments here are that when players were cut from the UFC because of what the UFC had done in buying up regional promotions and all that kind of stuff, if a fighter got cut from the UFC, they had a difficult time getting anywhere else because they were seen as. Anyway, where's it? Here, I'll read it to you. I just realized I don't know what I'm saying. I just don't know what the lawsuit is actually. That's what I don't have a real good grip on this. Let me see here. All right, so we'll give it to you. The UFC has been accused of engineering a monopoly over the world of mixed martial arts, but its leverage may soon be severely weakened. As the UFC prepares for its upcoming showcase event on Saturday, the real fight is set to take place outside the Oxygen within the confines of a courtroom. Last week, the UFC lost its bid to revoke class action status from hundreds of mixed martial arts fighters who are suing for more than $1 billion in wages. The lawsuit accuses UFC parent company Zuffa of illegally acquiring and maintaining a monopoly over the MMA industry, which resulted in fighters being paid a fraction of what they would earn in a competitive marketplace. Now, with a pivotal ruling for the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the lawsuit is scheduled to start on April 24th. this isn't new. This goes back a long time. I mean, I used to be fairly deeply involved in the MMA scene, both here and in Chicago. And this is something that fighters have talked about forever. They're like, this is kind of unfair, man. It's like if my deal comes up with the UFC and they offer me like half of what they were paying me last time, I can't go anywhere else and go because they own all the regional. It's like there's nowhere else you can go. So that's kind of trouble. But that's been something they've been talking about forever. And I just always kind of thought it was just one of them things. Well, never going to change. That's how it is. NFL rules. It's like the NFL. NFL players can say kind of the same thing. What are they going to go to the CFL? CFL can't pay a competitive wage. The NFL has a monopoly. Actually, I think the NFL dealt with all that, right? Wasn't that the NFL-AFL merger? Isn't that why the government had to get involved? Whatever, moving on, UFC. All right, what is the next thing here? Let me see. Oh, okay, yeah, this is, okay, so last one here, folks. We're gonna end the show with this. Unless there's something really big that I've missed. I want to talk a little bit about a story that came out today in Bloomberg. It is a profile. Somebody that, was being talked about earlier in the week. We talked about it here. When the story first broke, I did it because it was a big story and it was trending. And I said, here's the story. And I told you, and I said, look, there's like shows, but I don't know much about this. So I didn't really have much to contribute on the story. But since Monday, which is, I think, when this all went down, since Monday, I have prepped myself up on this story, and I've got hot takes. I've got deep. It's the story of WeWork. Okay, WeWork, which is the shared office space company that popped up about 15 years ago or so and took the world by storm. And all of a sudden, all these empty office buildings now have WeWork signs, and all your friends are going there and they're hanging out. And I've worked out of a WeWork place in Chicago for a period of time. I thought they were lovely. They were wonderful. They were really convenient. So WeWork went bankrupt on Monday after years and years. Now, WeWork back in the day was considered a unicorn. Now, what is a unicorn? A unicorn is a tech startup, although WeWork wasn't a tech startup, although they tried to pretend they were, but they weren't. A unicorn is a tech startup with an evaluation of $1 billion. They're rare. They're Facebook. They're Uber. They're Spotify. They're WeWork. WeWork was a unicorn. And that meant that Wall Street, they were a privately held company being run by a guy named Adam Neumann. Adam Neumann is the guy who's being profiled in Bloomberg today because Adam Neumann was the charismatic leader of WeWork, of the idea. He came up with the idea. Look at all these empty office buildings. What if we could rent out desks in a really cool office environment and all different people from all different jobs would all come together and they would all utilize desks working next to each other, networking, sharing. We'll put in a ping pong table. We'll do all of the bells and whistles that, the startup generation expects. We're going to have free lattes. We're going to have free, all that stuff. So they did that. And it was a new way of sort of communally working. Now, before WeWork, this had been going on for a number of years. It's just that it's what people went to Starbucks for, right? That's you go to Starbucks. You ever walk into a Starbucks in the middle of the day? Every table is taken with somebody got a laptop up, or they're on the phone, or they're writing. It's how we work now. We don't necessarily go to offices and punch 9 to 5. It's digital. It's mobile. We're on the move. WeWork was a great idea. It became a unicorn. His wife, Rebecca Peltro Newman. Rebecca Peltro Newman is, you guessed it, cousin of Gwyneth Paltrow. And if you didn't know that she was Gwyneth's cousin, she would certainly let you know in the first 30 seconds that you met her. She's that one. So it's these two people that started WeWork, husband and wife. Andrew and Rebecca Newman, both of them. Here's how I know. What do I know now about WeWork that I didn't know on Monday when we first did this story? Well, since Monday, I have watched the Hulu documentary about WeWork. There's a great documentary about WeWork and about what happened. And then there's also an Apple TV miniseries. I think it's like 6 episodes or something. I don't know. I finished it last night. So I've seen the 6-episode miniseries. They're, it's episodes, they're like 45 minutes each. I think I was ripping out 2 or 3 a night before bed. So there's that. There's the miniseries on Apple TV, which stars Anne Hathaway as Rebecca Newman and Jared Leto as Adam Newman. And they are incredible. They are incredible. Now, here's what I would suggest. If you want to get into this story the way I am, and I'm going to, maybe I could sell it to you after I tell you about the Bloomberg profile of Adam Newman today. It's a fascinating story. It's a crazy story about people who just beat the system. That's what they did. They beat the system. And I'll tell you why. Because if you watch the Hulu documentary, they talk about the problems that WeWork had and all of the problems being due to the crazy, erratic behavior of Adam Newman, the president, CEO, visionary, and his nutso wife, Rebecca Peltro Newman. They were crazy. They're crazy people. They were crazy people who, within the first couple of minutes, I wanted to punch them both in the face, right? Anne Hathaway, I love Anne Hathaway. She's adorable. I wanted to break her nose. Just these people. Who are these people? Well, of course, it's someone who would tell you that she's Gwyneth Paltrow's cousin within 30 seconds, even though you don't need to know. Upper East Side, New York, private schools. Yes, I do support homeless causes, but dirty, gross. Those people. But also with a little bit of, look, the world is hippy-dippy and I'm a hippy-dippy and I'm going to eat I'm vegan. I'm radically vegan. You don't eat fish, do you? Those are just fucking the worst people. Just the absolute worst people. Pretentious, elitist. That's who she was. He's just some crazy dude from Israel. He's a crazy hustler from Israel. That's who he is. So they get together, they start this company. It's a great idea. I think like I said, I used it. WeWork is a great idea. WeWork should not be bankrupt. They were valued at one point at $47 billion. SoftBank came in with an evaluation and a pledge of owner $47 billion for just sharing desks. That's what this was. So anyway, these stories of WeWork that you can see in both the Hulu documentary, I would suggest watching the Hulu documentary first so that you can see these people, so that you can get an idea for who these people are. And then after you learn the facts in the Hulu documentary, then watch the Apple miniseries and be blown away at how amazing Anne Hathaway and Jared Leto are as these two. They nail it. Jared Leto might be the best actor of our generation. I don't know. I can't tell you. Everything Jared Leto does is like, my God. And you keep forgetting about him too. Remember him in House of Gucci? He was the only good thing in House of Gucci. And you probably didn't even know he was in House of Gucci because he was unrecognizable. Shaved head, put on like 50 pounds, aged like 20 years. Yeah, the creepy uncle with the big dreams in House of Gucci. That was Jared Leto. Anyway, he's playing Adam Newman in this. Adam Newman, president, WeWork. WeWork was an embarrassment. I'll give you an example of how silly the micro universe that was created inside WeWork corporate. So of course they had a barista who made free coffees and cappuccinos and lattes and whatever it is that you wanted every day. So you could just walk up and say, give me a latte. Okay, so if you walked up to the barista at WeWork and you ordered a latte, you would be given a cappuccino. And if you walked up to the barista at WeWork and you ordered a cappuccino, you would be given a latte. And you know why they did that? They did that because Adam Newman, the president, didn't know the difference between a latte and a cappuccino. And he liked cappuccinos, but he was actually drinking lattes. He thought lattes were So instead of telling him that, oh no, Adam, I'm sorry, that's a latte and that's a cappuccino. You actually like the cappuccino. No, I like the latte. Like he refused to change. So in the universe of WeWork, they just changed what a latte was and what a cappuccino was. They just switched them. It's like calling a hot dog a hamburger. And then people just going, did you go to the ball game and get one of them hamburger? So that's how nuts it was. And that's the kind of nuttiness that I think I've seen depicted with a number of companies in this era. This is why I hate the super rich. This is why I hate SoftBank coming in with $47 million and giving it to some fucking guy who doesn't even know the difference between a latte and a cappuccino. But here's the thing. Handsome. Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. That's why he got $47 million, because he was handsome and he was a con man. He was a handsome con man, and he could get in front of people and he could just talk about love and faith and how we're going to change the world. And everybody's like, you're a fucking office sharing company. No, we are going to improve. Oh my God. Anyway, Adam Neumann is the focus of a big piece in Bloomberg today because, well, the company that he founded and created and built went bankrupt. Now, Adam Neumann was forced out a long time ago. Adam Neumann, 2 years ago, was forced out after a Wall Street Journal article came out and basically just told the world about what a lunatic these people are, how nuts they are. And they were preparing for an IPO. And the Wall Street Journal putting out this story about how insane the company's leaders are was really bad for the IPO. Remember, it was a $47 million evaluation. After the Wall Street Journal article came out, the evaluation was redone to 20. So it lost 27 billion of its evaluation because the whole country, or at least the people who read the Wall Street Journal, learned that Adam Neumann didn't know what a latte was and didn't wear shoes. That's the other thing. He didn't wear shoes. He grew up in a kibbutz in Israel, so he never wore shoes. So he'd be wearing like, $10,000 suit and no shoes walking down the street in New York City. Yeah, $47 billion worth of Wall Street money is not going to be made comfortable with that. So the whole thing falls apart. The board of directors of WeWork end up firing him. He walks away 2 years ago with $2.3 billion for being an idiot and blowing everybody's money. He was golden parachuted out of there. They had to get rid of him before they went public. Then they went public. Everything went bad from there. He was out. He had to divest of the company. He sold all his stocks. When they went public, he sold all stocks. So he got out of it and he got all of that money, $2.3 billion. And that's what this article in Bloomberg is about today. $2.3 billion. It's about Adam Neumann, this idiot who basically duped the big money hedge funds of the world into giving him endless flows of cash. God, if you see this, you just watch this thing and you're like, fuck, man. I'm like at Kroger getting pissed off because they raised the price of generic Coke Zero. And this guy, literally, I was watching, there's one episode I'm watching, and I'm like, how much fucking money does this guy just spend every day outside of cars, bills? You know what I mean? Like, what? Just in a normal day, you wake up, how much money is this guy spending? I'm not talking about prorated rent, or mortgage or whatever. I'm just talking about money. And the best of it was $10,000 a day in cash he was just burning through. How do you do that? Well, you go out to lunch with 10 people every day at the best restaurant in New York, and you order 5 bottles of wine at $2,000 each. And I'm in a Kroger going, how the fuck you gonna raise the price by a quarter? I'm serious, man. This world is fucked up. This idiot got to do this because he was good looking, and that's really it. He was good looking. He was a smooth talker. And he dazzled a bunch of trolls, a bunch of nerdy billionaires with hedge funds. No pretty girls like me. I got to pay for all my hots. He dazzled these people with, hey, you can be like me. Look at me with my big smile. I'm so handsome. Woo, my wife's a Paltrow. Gwyneth might be stopping by. Come on over. By the way, Gwyneth never stopped by. There was absolutely no indication that Gwyneth Paltrow and Rebecca Paltrow Newman had any kind of a relationship other than the fact that they're cousins. There was a funny scene at the wedding, the wedding of Andrew Newman and Rebecca Newman, and Andrew Newman and Rebecca Paltrow Newman, because she always wanted to make sure people knew that. Everybody, the way they shot the wedding scene, everybody, oh my God, Rebecca, you are so beautiful. This is such a beautiful wedding. Is Gwyneth coming? Like everybody. And it was a slow burn for Anne Hathaway throughout her wedding. No, Gwyneth is not coming, okay? Fascinating. Anyway, it's an interesting story. They profile Adam Neumann in today's Bloomberg. And basically the story is, yeah, keep laughing. Dude's still worth $2 billion. The dude got in, he got out, and he's got a new company. And guess what? His new company just received $37 billion in funding. So they're still being hoodwinked by this guy. Although I got to tell you, the new company sounds like something I could be into. All right, we'll give you the story. Again, I got nowhere to go. WeWork Inc. never figured out how to make money. Adam Newman sure did, though. The office leasing business declared bankruptcy this week, 2 years after finally going public, minus its infamous co-founder. It has $19 billion of liabilities and $15 billion of assets. Longtime investors, including SoftBank Group and the Vision Fund, will add to the enormous losses they've already taken on the venture. It's been a challenge for me to watch from the sidelines as WeWork has failed to take advantage of a product that is more relevant today than ever before. Newman, 44, said. Oh, and that's the other thing about the documentary. The last 10 minutes of the documentary are all of these Wall Street experts and all these CNBC hosts and all these people. It's all of these people talking about what a failure Adam Newman was and how terrible it was because it was a good idea. And just think if he'd have been able to make it grow. If Adam Newman, and seriously, one of them just says directly, if Adam Newman hadn't failed, who knows where this company could have gone? And I'm like, failed? This dude had nothing when he started, and he walked away with 1.7 billion, 2.3 total, but 1.7 billion at the time. What failure? Are you fucking kidding me? If he had walked away with 10 million, it wouldn't have been a failure. He walked away with $1.7 billion. And then this Hulu documentary is like, oh, it's so sad that he's such a failure. Get the fuck. Let's see here. It has been a challenge to watch, but a part of Newman might be thankful that he was forced out back in 2019 following the company's disastrous first attempt at an initial public offering. While battering his reputation, the exit from the company left him with plenty of liquidity, and he's still worth an estimated $1.7 billion according to Bloomberg's Billionaire Index. To be sure, WeWork's failure hurt Newman's wealth. When it went public in a merger, a special purpose acquisition company in 2021, Newman had a fortune of $2.3 billion. With nearly 1/3 in WeWork shares, they've since fallen more than 99%. Oh, 99%, but he's still worth $1.7 billion. But the deal also revealed how he managed to extract huge amounts of cash from WeWork in much better times. The ex-CEO's name was mentioned 197 times in a merger filing. Oh, we don't need to. For WeWork's bankruptcy is costing SoftBank $11.5 billion. He's got a new venture. All right, so let's learn what he's into now. The guy who started WeWork and the guy seriously. Is it? I don't know if it's in the documentary or if it's on the miniseries of WeWork. Both of them are very interesting. The miniseries is really good. It's just a really good story because the acting is so good. But they show like every day, like it'll be like the next day at WeWork, and then there'll be like a graphic on the screen that will show how much money WeWork lost that day. They were losing on average $3 million a day. $3 million a day for years. For years, they were hemorrhaging $3 million a day. And these big hedge fund dudes were like, let's throw more money at it. Jesus. There was only one guy. There's only one guy who's depicted in the thing going, this is fucking nuts. You know, it's just like, all right. So his new venture what's his new venture? And how on earth is Adam Newman going to get any, and why with 1.7 billion is he taking money, outside money? It seems like you could just kind of do your own venture with 1.7 billion. Yes, but no, what do they say about business? This is something I don't understand. This is something all businessmen understand. Never use your own money. Never. That's the first thing. If a rich guy ever comes to you looking for money for a project, it's because he don't want to use his own money. He wants you to be the idiot. These days, Newman is very busy. He's got a new startup. It's called Flow. Flow, which received $350 million investment from a venture capital firm at a $1 billion valuation. Okay, so it's got a $1 billion. It's got a unicorn valuation. That's a big evaluation, or valuation, not evaluation. Let's see. What is it going to be? What is Flow? Flow will operate multi-family residential properties that aim to foster a feeling of ownership and community. At least some of the residential properties were already owned by Newman because his own investment company couldn't. Flow hasn't been factored into Newman's fortune yet, meaning he could be even wealthier than the Bloomberg figure. Okay, so let's talk about this Flow thing. Sounds like, right? He's communal living. He wants to create a new way of people to live together in communities. He was raised, as I said, he was raised on a kibbutz. He was raised in a commune. That's an Israeli commune of people who emigrated over to Israel to, relay their Jewish roots and all of that. They live in kibbutzes. Kibbutzes are communes. They are communities that are not like regular community. They are communities that are dependent on one another. There are jobs within this community, whether they farm or irrigate or do garbage or clean or cook or educate, whatever. And it is a way that has been, what qualifies as success? But it has been successful in Israel. It's been a way that people choose to live in Israel for years and years. On October the 7th, when Hamas attacked, they attacked the kibbutzes. That's what they did. They attacked these gated communities where people were living and they were self-reliant from the outside world, but dependent entirely on each other. Community. So that's where this Adam Newman guy came from. That's who he is. And when he came to America, that's why he created WeWork. Get it? So all of his things have this communal kind of vibe. WeWork was all about the community. Now he's got this thing Flow. It's all about the community, where he wants to create new. I'm actually very interested in that concept. I love that concept. I love the concept of communal living. Not like hippie, weird 70s communal living, but the idea of having a shared investment in how the kid down the street grows up. The idea of having stake in the game when it comes to, the house down the block burning down. I feel like now more than ever as a society, we fucking hate each other. I mean, we live in the era of the 8-foot privacy fence. We don't want to fucking know our neighbors. We don't want to have anything to do with them. That's how we live. And I think that kind of changes us. I think it makes us, well, first of all, we can't see as much. Let's break it down at the most basic point. An 8-foot privacy fence means we can't see what's going on over there, which means we're wondering about what's going on over there, which means we're unsure, which means now we have that fear again. And now all the dominoes are going and we're just angry. So I like the idea of some form of modern approach to the concept of communal living. Look, I don't want to share a bathroom with anybody. That's not what I'm saying. There is something interesting about it. And that's what he's doing. And he has received $325 million. Here's the thing about Adam Newman. And, if you take my advice this weekend and you watch this Apple TV show, We Crashed. By the way, that's what it's called. We Crashed. The thing about Adam Newman is that you don't hate him the way you hate his wife. You will hate his wife. You will hate Rebecca Paltrow Newman. She's the worst. And she thinks she's the best. That's the problem. She thinks that she has somehow figured out how to be a saint among mere broken, morally corrupt individuals. That's who she thinks she is. And she's really the most petty, vindictive, condescending piece of garbage. Anyway, but he's not that bad. He's just kind of a con man. He's maybe not even a con man. He's just very confident in what he believes in, but he is passionate. And I never doubted that he didn't believe what he was selling. So I guess that's unfair to call him a con man, because a con man is the opposite. A con man doesn't believe in what he's selling. This Adam Newman guy was just a little too weird and over the top, but he did believe in what he was doing. And like I said, I've used WeWorks. I thought they were great. I thought, what a cool idea this is. It's like a health club. It's like joining a health club membership, except you just go to work and the network. And, I remember I was working on a project and I was at the WeWork. There's WeWork in downtown at Wabash. And I was working at that one because it was close to Columbia. And I knew that a lot of the other people that would be there would be talented in the areas that I needed, that I might need. I ended up working with a number of people just because they were there. I'm like, hey, anybody here know how to do this graphic thing I'm trying to? And then somebody be like, yeah, let me take a look at it. Total strangers. It's fucking nice. I mean, it was just nice. So I can understand the appeal to WeWork. And I also understand why it failed. It failed because he had to have 5 private jets and 20 homes. And he spent $100 million on them. But that's why it failed, because he was taking all that money out of the company. Anyway, there you have it. Okay. I think we're done, guys. I think that's it. I'm very excited about today. Very excited about today. We're going to have, I get a full uninterrupted weekend with my boy. We're going to do snapping drills tomorrow. Maybe on Sunday. Maybe as I go, we got no football. When's Cowboys playing Sunday? Is that a 3:00 game? Maybe do some early snapping on Sunday. What else do we got? Let's see. Are there any movies? Am I going to have to take my damn kid to a movie? I don't like going to movies. Not fun. Not fun for me. We've improved we've just absolutely destroyed the movie-going experience. The minute I was able to get pay-per-view films while lying in my bed at night, it's like, I'm not putting shoes on to go to a theater anymore and pay $10 for popcorn. What are you, nuts? This is kind of weird. Why is this not playing? Huh. Oh, I get it. It's because it's not plugged into anything. Sorry. Remember at the beginning of the show, I had to take the whole place apart. I had to take the whole studio apart. Is that it? Is that gonna work? That should work. Hey! All right, sorry. Be the best. Oh. I can smile a little now. Things are going good. I got nothing else. I was trying to think, is there anything else that I want to talk about? Anything I miss? We'll do that. Let's jump in there. Hi, Barney. Barney says, communal sounds like a great idea, but it never seems to work when you scale it up. When outside of the wildly successful kibbutz system in Israel has it been scaled up, Barney? I don't know what you're talking about. I know that communes were a thing with independent hippie groups, in the 60s. I don't know. It's ever been scaled up. And I don't know how you could sit there and confidently say that, it's always failed when they've tried to. I don't know what that is. I do love the idea, though. Don't love the idea of communal showers. You got to have my private bathroom, of course. Got to be able to live alone. But I don't know. I just like the idea of, I love the idea of having an investment in your neighbor. I like the idea of caring about my neighbor, which I don't think I've ever done. I don't think I've ever given a shit about my neighbor. I've given a shit about my friends. I just don't think I've ever lived. I've never existed in that way. And I lived in apartment buildings and condos for a large portion of my life. That means our neighbors were like right next to, the doors were right there. And it was like, hey, how you doing? You live next door to me for the last 10 years. I'm not even sure what your name is. All right, be good now. So I don't know. I think there is an appeal to having an investment in some kind of a give a shit about, the people around you. I don't know how it would work, though. I have no idea how it would work. I have no idea how you would make money off of it. I don't know. No idea. Whatever. Oh, you're talking about WeWork. You're talking about WeWork. Well, first of all, WeWork did work. WeWork was wildly successful. Yes, I know it went bankrupt, but it went bankrupt specifically because of all of these crazy holes that were dug very early on by their insane owner. But not only has WeWork been successful, it will continue. The branding is, it's not like WeWorks are closed right now. No, they're going to restructure. They're in bankruptcy. They're going to come back. They basically invented the work communal share industry. And now it's a $40 billion industry. There are a lot of competitors to WeWork. So it was successful. The idea was proven successful. Barney says one guy with one office building could make a decent living with it this way, but it didn't work nationally. Well, that's an oversimplification. There are empty office buildings everywhere. Nobody had the vision. And that's, it was framed differently. And it's about going after young people. It's not going after that accountant who's willing to pay $500 a month for that glorified closet on the 15th floor. No, this was about getting kids, getting college students, getting getting designers and influencers, people looking to network, people who don't have an office because they're independent contractors, coming together for $200 a month. Actually, I think it was $250. What was it? I don't know what it was. The agency that that I helped start, we had an account there, so we were able to use anyone's that we had. Cool ass cards. We had cool ass cards. You could walk into anyone, you just swipe it and go and sit down. There was a problem with office space in America. You just take a look at any of our downtowns. The problem with office space is because the people don't need to report to an office anymore. So what are we going to do with all those buildings? We get just a whole bunch of office spaces in American cities, and those buildings are empty. The Sears Tower in Chicago, sorry, Willis Tower, that building's like been half empty my entire life. Do a haunted house, something like that. I don't know. Farms? I don't know, Barney, what do you got? You got any ideas? Agri-farms? The WeWork concept wasn't just because as they say, can't think of the name of the company, but as they say, there was a company that was operating and very successful. They were probably dominant in the idea of sharing office space, shared space, timely space. They were big, but the difference between them and WeWork when Adam Newman's idea came in was the other ones just seemed really old and stodgy and like bad furniture and just looked almost like did you ever hang out in a Hampton Inn lobby in like, I don't know, Wichita Falls, right? Just very generic furniture. That's what the other thing looked like. That appealed to the accountant who just lost his job, who's trying to do independent stuff, and he's going through a divorce, and those kinds of things appealed to that guy. It's not who Adam wanted. Adam wanted the kids sitting at Starbucks working on their laptops. Adam saw a whole different way of doing it, and he was right. He was just a crazy person who should never have been in control of $47 billion. Crazy person. Yeah, Marty. Hydroponic agri-farms in these towers, these glass towers with you look at these downtown buildings in a lot of these cities. What are they? They are glass shells. What is a glass shell? A fucking greenhouse. You could grow crops inside these buildings hydroponically using natural light of all of these gigantic floor-to-ceiling windows. I'm telling you, there are ideas out there. Somebody's gonna we grow. No, that was actually. I was thinking, what could we call me and Barney going into business? We're gonna do hydroponics in office buildings, and I was like, we should call it We Grow. But guess what? No, that's something that the We company already did. They already got We Grow. That was a school that Rebecca Peltro Newman tried to start. It's another reason why they're bankrupt. She took like $1 billion out of the office space sharing business model to open a school, to which all of the people at the hedge funds were like, the fuck does a school have to do with office space sharing? Which I thought was, yeah, that's why the company went out of business. He also bought Adam Newman bought a coffee company with WeWork money. He bought a coffee company with WeWork money. He bought the coffee company because it was co-owned by Laird Hamilton, who's a surfer, and Adam Newman wanted to hang out with Laird Hamilton, so he bought the coffee company. Dude doesn't know the difference between lattes and cappuccinos, but he's buying coffee companies to hang out with Laird Hamilton. It's funny. It's just funny. And if you're like me and you know that there is nothing special about these people, most people think there's something special about the billionaire. Most people, Elon Musk walks into the room, you're going to get nervous. Oh, I'm so nervous. These people are all frauds. These are all performers. These are all people. Some of them are smart and they had good ideas and they did them, but they're no different than you and me. They're just regular people. And a lot of times, bullshit. Adam Newman had a good idea. He sold it to the right people. He took all their money. He had a wonderful time. He got out. He's worth $2 billion. Everybody else that stayed, they're broke. All right, guys, I got to go. Love you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Don't forget, tip the show if you're so inclined. That would be great. You're the best. Together, we're unstoppable. I don't have the greed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.